What is going on? Celso Oliveira here, section 128. Eric Holstrom right next to me
Yeah.
on the
Was
screen.
the
Hold
video?
on.
Was the
I
video?
want to send a shout out real quick to Fugazi for allowing us to use their intro song here. It's a pleasure being back. Very excited to talk LAFC with everybody. We got the next hour packed, jammed with different things we got to talk about. And I will shoot it right next to you, Eric. I know you're excited to talk about us. We're going to start talking today about the New York City FC game before we bring two guests to talk a little bit about the games that we're going to be hosting this week. But I'll shoot it to you, Eric. Talk to me a little bit about New York City Football Club Saturday night, MLS. LAFC comes in to BMO Stadium. You were there. I was there. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, and leading up to it is pretty fun. From the show last week with the Blue City guys on, they really broke down what to expect with NYCFC, and whereas with Colorado and Minnesota, we experienced some good old-fashioned bunker ball with counterattack. NYCFC tried to play a little more dynamic and a little more progressively. So we saw a little bit more fluidity of the passing. NYCFC did take possession for the game. They did win the possession battle, which, for LAFC and Dolo ball is fine. But, as opposed to Minnesota and Colorado, neither of those teams really wanted possession either, but New York City did want possession. So having this different dynamic was fine. The game was it kind of grinded it out in what I think is going to start being a theme for this year. I said a couple episodes ago that this really looks like a team that's there to grind out 1-0 wins. And we've seen 3 in a row of that now at this point, I might have to change my predictions because I don't think I've predicted anyone 1-0 wins. So, hypocrite me, whatever.
Well, you got the 2-1 right in Colorado, which, we'll talk a lot about the crew, CCC. We have Jerald Lucas joining us here in the 20th minute of this. But before that, we got to talk about MLS and the 3 points at home, which I've always talked to you, very, very important, right? And if you saw the games this week, very few teams got to score any points whatsoever traveling. That's MLS in a nutshell to me. So very cool that we get to play 2 tournaments and defend the bank, right? And continuously get points there and showing defensive effort that I haven't seen since I started following this team. It's a very good defense. We've had Chiellini back there. We had really good defenders, but right now I really like this score and what they're doing so far. But, as you pointed out, everyone that has been playing us, definitely went more defensive position, Eric, and we haven't really seen the top of the conference, I would say, in terms of attack. So I have a feeling that those predictions that you have for more goals are going to come. So just hold on to them. But with NYCFC, one thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, let's talk about them a little bit. First off, not really a marquee player other than a kind of old Maxi Morales, right? A very small player. Actually, I thought it was cool to see that player close to me, and a very young squad. I noticed just the guys just look very young. What did you see from the team? From a formation standpoint, we are section 128. We're right behind the visitor bench. What did you see from New York City FC that it made it that difficult for LAFC to press through?
Yeah, defensively, I saw a lot of similarities with how Colorado came in with
Rodriguez.
The CCC, which their midfield and their back line stayed pretty close together, and they really tried to take away any passing in the middle opportunities, which they were successful at. Part of it, I think, is their tactics. The other part of it is our midfield we don't really have anybody capable of making those piercing forward central attacks. So, our midfield seems to have no option other than to kick it out to the wing to Boango and Martinez and let them beat a 2-on-1 and try to make something happen, or hero ball, as I've seen some people kind of start to call it. So, with that, we're definitely going to play much better teams than NYCFC using more of a pragmatic approach. I think NYCFC they're kind of in a holding pattern, and I think they might be for the next couple of years as their new stadium gets built and go for the grand relaunch. But as it is now, we're kind of playing a bunch of young guys and no real big marquee stars out there. Some marginal guys, but I'm not sure if it's a team that's going to have anybody on the best 11 this year. So, that's kind of one thing with NYCFC. They are what they are right now, and it seems like a club that has its eyes more towards the future than it has for the present, which this is a league that you can do that in. You don't need to necessarily look at this year. You can be projecting 2-3 years out for your success. You kind of have to with the salary cap. So
right.
Seeing that with our team, our attack is still kind of sputtering, and part of this is because it's a very one-dimensional attack. And if it's a one-dimensional attack, they can do the same thing. I would expect with Columbus, we're going to see that as well with Nagbe in the midfield, that they're going to probably try to take the midfield away from us as well, leaving us to the sidelines to go. And, it's a bit concerning. 0.4 XG with this game. The other side of this is this squad was fairly rotated as well.
Let's talk lineup. Hold on. Why before you go into that? Yeah, I loved your article, by the way. Eric's been writing these post matchup articles, which it's been really good. Just kind of seeing what he's seen and putting in paper. I put some photos out there to try to illustrate it as well. So check it out. It's on Pitchside US. It's a new website we are launching. Just a bunch of people that like to write about soccer. Some of us are journalists, some of us are quasi journalists, but the idea is to write about soccer in the modern manner. But basically what I saw more than anything against New York City FC is, like you said, a team that had possession but couldn't really do much with it, tried to force us wide, and for the most part was successful at that. And LAFC had very little chances that were able to create. But let's talk a little bit about the starting lineup. I wish I had a graphic here. In the future we're going to have more graphics. Crazy day for me, but LAFC sees its first game with a 3-back, a 3-4-3, or however you want to see that formation. But talk to me about what you saw from Steve Cherundolo's alternative squad. And if you saw the press conference, I had the question to him: was this by option or is it tactical? And he basically said it was rotational, just to rest his pieces. So what did you think of the formation 3-4-3 to start this game with Yeboah? I thought was the biggest surprise on the left side there as a fullback.
I've had my criticisms of Cherundolo in the past with how guys get rotated and some kind of confusion how they deal with that. I thought the rotation in the lineup for this was, nothing but a rave review from me on this one. Hopefully this is one of those things. He's getting into his 4th year, I think, as coach now. And he's starting to see like what the MLS grind is and how far you can push the guys and what happens if you push guys too far to keep going game in and game out. So I think keeping some fresh legs is definitely going to be a good move. With this lineup, let's start with Tafari, Marlon, and Segura on the back line. I thought that our back three played an absolutely perfect game. There's not a single criticism I can find at that game with their play. They shut down everything. Nobody made a mistake. We kept a clean sheet. Even with Marlon coming out, I guess that was a change formation. But yeah, all three of them in the 60 minutes, perfect performance. If we can get that performance every time, we're going to keep a clean sheet every time.
Dude.
Yeboah, I thought was great. It's kind of, I think the wing back is always where they saw him slotting in. So I think for that, it was kind of an inevitability when they go to the 3-4-3 that was when Yeboah was going to come in. I'm not sure that he has the defense necessary to be on a 4-man back line.
He did struggle a little bit, if I may. Seeing him close by, he did have some 1v1s that you could see that he was not necessarily keeping up with his attacker, but still kind of like competitive in front of them. Gave us good minutes, but allowed some crosses, and they definitely saw that as a kind of a vulnerability and kept trying to go there in the first half back. But those crosses weren't going anywhere because they had good coverage with the center backs. But yeah, I know Yeboah, to me, real quick. Someone mentioned he was going to be the steal of the free agency. I don't see it as much as that. But great depth piece that can come in and give us good minutes in kind of like a fullback position now, right? Is really great to see it. You don't have to start the same guys. We saw Palencia start regardless of what happened during the week. And at the same time, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't start tomorrow for the Crew game. It seems like that story kind of died down or it's being investigated at this point. But yeah, the fullbacks did their part. Marlon to me has been excellent. Someone told me that he was inconsistent and very aggressive. I thought you were talking about Jesus Murillo for a second there, So I disagree with that assessment 100%, and I think he's going to be a very good piece of this 3-back. But go ahead, let's talk about the midfield, man. Like, what did you see from the midfielders? A little bit of a change there, right? With Delgado sitting and also Igor Jesus taking a break in the second half.
Yeah, I think Igor Jesus and Tillman are both operating as midfield destroyers right now, which is, having two on a team like that is definitely makes for an interesting time. But kind of same. Igor Jesus got himself out of a lot of situations with his dribbling. I mean,
saw that.
He had quite a few highlights there in the Techers reel, so that was really nice to see. And he didn't lose anything in the box, so nothing bad there. The only thing our midfield needs to improve on, I don't know if they have this in the toolbox because it's a very specific skill set, and it's one of those reasons why I think attackers are so much more valued, is that progressive pass and that line breaking pass into our forwards. So, that's Tillman. Tillman I've seen since probably mid last season. He just doesn't like to make forward passes at all. He tends to put it to the sidelines, and sometimes even when he has a guy making a run, he just doesn't like to pull the trigger on that. So I'm sure he has good reasons. He doesn't have the confidence, or he just doesn't feel it. It is what it is, and I guess it's better than turning the ball over, although it can be frustrating sometimes watching a runner go through. It's like, give him a chance to get the ball, give the guy a chance. But yeah, so but going back to Marlon, he on the other hand, he had a few passes that went up to and bypassed the midfield, and some of the passing from him and Segura were both really nice. Palencia in the midfield, Palencia is great. If only I was confident that guy can play 2,500 minutes a year, because he just can't. And the thing with Palencia is I'm not sure who comes on for him that can really give us a similar productivity.
Oh, no, it would be Hollinshead with Smoley. I'm going to just call it Smoley at this point, or Arden, whatever. But Smoley to me is a natural lefty there. And then you got, and I'm just calling it Smoley. It's so easy and so cool already. And then on the other side, right? You can switch Hollinshead back and forth, which was a little bit of it when the subs happened. I even asked him, "Did you play fullback at all?" Because he sneaky becomes a midfielder, right? And he said, "I did. When Palencia came out, I became that, and then Smolikov played the left." So it's already happening, and I think the biggest thing I've seen of this offseason is that we've been crying about the fullback situation for quite some time. And it seems like for the first time in a long time, it's very solid. And I like the core. I like the guys that are starting. I like the guys that can spell. I like the fact that Yeboah can play fullback when he needs to, but doesn't have to. And we can go to a 3-back because we have 5. We're 5 deep now with the center back. So it complements the roster really well with this fullback core, and has really helped LAFC keep these clean sheets that you talked about. Before we move on to the attackers, and we're going to bring in Jerald here really soon, I want to talk about Hugo Lloris. I had a tweet. I said, you know what? He low-key has become really good for us. Solid like Berkey in a sense, and a guy that we know we got on the discount that was not playing in Europe, and it was still clearly on top of his game. He's been showing up and showing off a little bit. What are you seeing from Hugo? Is he already that guy that you all expected from him? I mean, there was a lot of doubt when we moved Kripo and Johnny out, right? So, like, what are you seeing from him? I'm very pleased with everything that I'm seeing from Hugo.
Yeah, I thought Lloris last season was a bit disrespected by not even being in the goalkeeper of the year conversation. Maybe he doesn't win it, but when you're putting up your nominees, I think he at least deserved a nominee for just the sheer number of clean sheets he had that all came after the last 10 games of the season, or after the first 10 games of the season. And this year it's the same. I mean, he's up to 3 games in a row with a clean sheet. So we're talking 270 regular minutes. And on top of that, he looks to me like probably the best distributor of any goalkeeper in this league right now. I mean, two assists last year, and plus our 1 goal was sprung on a turnover from him as well. And he just seems to find the outlet and make that decision quick enough that he's giving our guys a chance to run and create like at least a numerical draw, if not sometimes even a numerical advantage, And if you get our break was a 3-on-4, and sometimes a 3-on-4 is all you need. You get a 3-on-3, even better. Sometimes he springs guys into a 1-on-1, like especially with Bouanga on a 1-on-1, and then forget about it. Like that is dangerous. So Lloris, if he continues like this, I mean, it'll be a massive amount of disrespect for him, not only to not get nominated for goalkeeper of the year, but to not win it.
Well, hold on. I mean, we're kind of 4 or 5 games, and let the man like keep doing his accolades. But yeah, I'm very excited. I think his growth is it surprised me, honestly, because I was a little skeptical. I didn't like the moves. I'm all about keeping guys. You know what I mean? And now we have this new narrative. No, but you can't do it in MLS because you get fucked. And I understand it. You know what I mean? It hurts you a little bit, and you got to move guys at the end of their contracts because they value more, because of bonuses, all the shit. And so we lose guys like Kellen Acosta and such, end up in Chicago. Good luck to you, Kellen. I hope. How's that turning out? How's that working out for you?
Lloris,
you know what I mean?
The armband though,
and now he's a captain. He's very serious. He's got a lot of new guys in front of him, but he's kind of the steady dude. And like every game now, I'm seeing him get 2 key saves for us to keep that clean sheet. A game that in the past might have been 1-1. Because one of our goalkeepers made a mistake or took literal eye off the ball, right? And he ends up with a problem. But yeah, look, I see it. I see you got the scarf there. The scarf collection is growing. I saw you got the Bouanga one too, right? That was the newest one. I saw you bragging a little bit on that.
Those 5 guys right there.
and they end up being like the face of LAFC. You can start kind of seeing them being
except
like
for Dewey,
some of our most important.
No,
dude, Dewey is good. Dewey did a lot for us. And we sold a shit ton of money. But look, let's talk Columbus now. I mean, I know we didn't talk the offense, but real quick, right? Let's close this out real quick. So we get the 1-0 win with the late goal. Giroud comes in. I think he made a difference. Let's close with that. Olivier Giroud comes in, subs come in, and then we got the goal. Let's go.
Yeah, I think I'm not. A lot of people want to call Giroud a bust. I'm going against that right now. What matters is winning games and getting the goals. Giroud is not going to be a guy that's putting in 20 goals for us this year. Absolutely not. But he's providing a target and he's providing a decoy to give those chances to the other guys in the team. And, as frustrated he gets, I'm starting to see Giroud as being more of a selfless player. Even his pressing, he's starting to run in the press, which is something he didn't do before. So I'm seeing improvements. Of course, having a 9 that's your marquee player that's not dumping in goals like Benteke is frustrating, but the things he's doing a lot of other little things. And so, with Giroud, he's got a little bit of slack from me. I thought actually he played a better game than Abobasi did. I think Abobasi and Ordaz have had strong games, and I feel like the first 60 minutes was not as strong of a performance from either of them as I've seen over the last bunch of games. And then Denis is just, man, that guy's steady every game. So for me, a little bit of the shine came off Ordaz and Abobasi. It was one game. They're going to contribute. But, I think Giroud and Martinez, I'm pretty happy with them as our top 3 now.
Yeah, they kicked ass, and didn't get the goal, but it was a slim victory. That cross to me was perfect. Ryan Hollinshead, man, that guy is always in that one spot, and he mastered that shot, and he punishes teams that does not realize that he's coming as that sort of third runner. And if you don't account for him, it's trouble. The problem with him is that he gets us in trouble on the other side of the ball because A, he's very aggressive, so he gets gassed, and B, he's a little bit older, so he gets gassed. And that's actually cost us games in the past. I don't know. Against Columbus, he's not looked good. For a long time, I remember not necessarily blaming him, but seeing a deficiency in that side and Columbus exploiting it. In fact, the Yeboah goal might have happened on his account because he was being aggressive, and Jerald will talk to us about that. But with no further ado, sorry.
Wait. No, the last thing. Let me tie this knot before we hand it to Jerald.
Tie the knot. Yeah.
This last game was New York had a 0.4 xG on us. We had a 0.4 xG on them. There is absolutely zero chance in hell that Columbus has a 4.4 xG or less against us. Like, this is not realistic. Right?
Okay.
Jerald?
All right. First of all, kudos to you bringing XG into the coverage. It's something I usually do here and get shit for it. But yeah, no, again, thank you, Jerald, for coming in. And one thing that we're trying to do is Section 128, our new podcast here. We're just getting it started, but we always like to have a voice from the opposing team to talk a little bit about what you guys are going to bring and what LAFC fans are bound to see. So you joined us from Columbus, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. Once my home, as we were talking pre-show, lived there for many years, attended the Ohio State University, got to see them win a national championship this year. But we're not here to talk Ohio State, and we're here to talk about this game that we're going to be playing here. The CCC crew, in Ohio, like the two legs. Talk to us about your first impressions about this 180-minute game that will once again be decided in Columbus in that second leg.
I'm actually excited for it because both teams, whenever they come together, it's always who's gonna, whose balls are bigger. And over the last three meetings, Columbus's have been bigger. So, if I'm not mistaken, we snapped your guys' home winning streak. There was like 3-4 years, without losing a game at home, and we snapped it with 5-1.
That was last season. I was at that game.
Total
domination.
You got the hits on us.
Hey, so I wanted to actually say, for you guys having Yao Yeboah, he's better at the wing than he is any other position. And you guys could go back and watch the 23 MLS Cup, and you'll see how he's able to get behind those back lines and being able to find those long balls. Case in point, the second goal that he scored against you guys, for the 2-1 win.
MLS.
So I mean, that's honestly, you want to get the best production out of him. You want him on the wing. You don't want to.
The problem with our wing. Sorry, I was going to say our wing position is pretty loaded, but he's going to have opportunities. And in this game, the first opportunity did come as a fullback. He was defending most of the time. But I have a feeling that we're going to see some rotation up front too. But hey, I want to ask you, what is the sentiment in Columbus? You move your big dude, Cucho. You've been here before, right? Zella Ryan was the guy, and he gets moved. I was there for a game where we were kicking your butt every game. And there were, T-shirts, Zella Ryan this, Zella Ryan that. It was always saw it, and he gets just bye, see you later, unceremoniously. It seems like the same thing in a sense happens to Cucho, kind of did his time in Columbus, and now he's got to go, to bigger and better things. But what's the sentiment this season? Is it someone else is coming? The season's, it is what it is. Is Rossi going to have the bigger role? How are you feeling this team right now overall?
I'm feeling good about it because after, covering Nancy and the team for 3 years, there's a sense that they go get players that fit his system and not only his system, but fit the organization and the city, right? So they're not going out to beg players to come here. Like, oh, we'll give you, X amount of dollars, to come play for us. No, they want the one that's going to add to the chemistry and not divide it, and not have that toxicity in the locker room, because there's, Nancy has been proven that he's a developer, and to see, guys like Jason Russell Rowe and AZ Jackson and, Diego Rossi, getting his groove back, to Max Arstead, who was, drafted with no draft picture now to, being a household name, to Patrick Schulte getting thrown to the Wolves in 23, first game against Philadelphia. Seeing so much that he's able to develop some of these guys, that the thing that people have to be is patient. And Nancy, has said, we'll get the guy that wants us and that we want them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I got a question for you, because maybe this is some confirmation bias, but I had it brought up to me before the season. Somebody said, yeah, LAFC doesn't look as good as they did last season. And me watching the offseason, I think our roster is better than it was at the end of last season. Now, when I look at Columbus and your losses, I think on paper, this is probably the weakest Columbus team in 3 years. Am I making a bad assumption here? Do you feel like this year's Columbus roster on paper, do you feel this is actually stronger than it was last year or the last 2 years? Or do you think they still have to live up to it?
I think it's more of a complete team. And by complete, I'm saying it's not just one person. Mm-hmm. It's the whole collective this year. And, Nazi has talked about all the lines moving in unison. And, defense knows what, the back line knows what the forwards are doing, and also know what the midfield's doing. Midfield knows what everybody's doing. And same thing with the forwards, know what the midfield and back line's doing and moving all at the same time. If you go and you look at, the game again, or the season opener up against Chicago, you saw people, you saw swarms to the ball. When Chicago had the ball, it literally looked like you were watching an NFL or college football game and everybody was running to the ball, to the whistle, right? So you seeing the more cohesion and more unison of everybody flying around, right? So it's more of a complete team. Now, as far as like paper, I mean, everybody, that I'm hearing is saying that this isn't a strong Columbus team, right. And I disagree, because it's a complete team. Yeah, I'd rather have a complete team than having a team based off of one player.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think one of the other questions, because both of us, as we kind of came to this game tomorrow, on very different paths. With Columbus with the bye, you've had 2 competitive games this season so far. For us, tomorrow's going to be our 5th competitive game. So I feel like, how do you think about the team gelling and being informed? Are you concerned a little bit that without so many competitive games that, they're still feeling each other out? Whereas I think LAFC is finally getting into that groove together. How do you think that's going to play out?
They're fine. If you go back and you look at this team from 2023 till now, everybody is still the same. Except for, Cucho's not there, Lucas is not there, Christian Ramirez is not there. You've added a couple key, some other pieces like Dylan Shimbos and, AZ and, Lassie's, should be able to play this, tomorrow and also this weekend. You got Camacho there. So, I mean, it's really the same players, right? So their unity and their chemistry is there. Mm-hmm. As far as like, I always say there's a difference between training speed and game speed, which, they're slowly getting up to. But I mean, this is going to be the test for them, because they just played Saturday and they hopped on a flight to LA straight from Boston. Don't know if there was any layovers or, whatever, but they hopped on that flight straight out. They left Sunday.
That's business.
Yeah, they're ready. They're ready, man. But quick question on that then. So let's talk about the tactics of the game, right? Because what I've seen from LAFC at home, it's a difficulty in allowing goals, but also getting goals too. And Ryan Hollinshead scored, but said, "Hey, we're having a tough time as a team. We're not playing our best football." So, are you thinking if the game goes 1-0 LAFC, do you think that's not a terrible result? Or what do you expect from Columbus? Just defend, even if you're behind after 15 minutes, or do you want to play a more open game to see if you can get one away, right? Since there's an importance there. What is the tactics?
Tactics is keep playing the same way they've always played. Whether they go behind 1-0 in the first 15 minutes or they go behind 2-0, or 2-1 going into the first 45, right? The team has shown that regardless of what happens, that they don't stop. They keep playing their same game. They might make some tweaks, here and there, either at halftime or on the fly. But there's no, they don't panic. And if you want to,
Nancy,
man, if you really want to look at it, look at the Tigers. Look at Monterey. Last year's Champions Cup. Columbus went down and, everybody pulled up their bootstraps and, didn't panic and went right to work, and made it all the way to, get poisoned down there in Pachuca for the championship, so.
Yeah. Columbus is they're a good team at scoring late goals, which is, that's such a mentality game. I mean, even our League's Cup final, which on the one bright side, I think all of our games, other than that 5-1 loss regular season at home, if you look at the Cup final and if you look at the League's Cup final, those games were pretty even games that Columbus kind of came out. The 3-1, 2 goals were scored in stoppage time at the end of the game. It was kind of the 2-1, and then LA puts everything up and then gets the second one on them. But it'll be interesting to see it grind out. For me, to really feel comfortable, like I need to see a 3-0 for us tomorrow, which I don't see happening. But that's about the only result that I'm going to feel somewhat comfortable going back, because Columbus seems like they, at least regular season, pretty prolific goal scorers. We've scored 1 goal in our last 3 games, which is enough because we kept clean sheets. But Columbus has been dumping goals,
and it's a massive advantage to the away team, right? So you have, look, if you can get a 2-1 away, that all you need is a simple win away. It just takes away the tie, right? So like now the other team can play for the tie, and that's okay. But it's a simple win changes everything because of that away goal. So it's really about what Wilfred is. I think what you're describing here to us is the Wilfred way of playing. Talk to us about. Do you think he sticks around? He's a very hot coach. And you talked about eliminating personalities that don't fit a culture. But one thing that LAFC and Crew have had in common for the last few years is stability at the head coaching realm. And both coaches are excellent, right? You could say that they're kind of like the 2 up-and-coming young guys in this league, in a way, alongside the guy up down in Cincinnati. But I won't tell you that. But Noonan. But tell me, what do you think of these 2 coaches? And talk to us about Noonan's career at the Crew. Comes in and starts changing the culture around after Porter. And do you think he sticks around?
I do think he sticks around, maybe for a couple more years, especially if Columbus wins at least 1 or 2 more, trophies. He might, the demand for him will be so far gone that it'll be hard to keep him around. But changing the atmosphere, when he came in, from Porter, it was clear from night and day. From the opening kick in Philly there in 23, you could just tell the difference between the coaching styles and the philosophies and just the way that, he coaches, right? He talks about all the time that he's not a coach, but he's not like a babysitter. He gives the players tools and lets them go to work with those tools to get better. He'll say things here, to give them that constructive criticism to make them better, right? So he's not, I'm not going to hold your hand, developer. He's one like, here's this chisel, here's this hammer. What are you going to do with it? This is what you're supposed to do with it. Now go build something, or whatever the case. But he's just, he talks about giving the players the tools for their tool belts and their toolboxes, and letting them work things, build the chemistry, and with other players, the rest of the coaching staff, and the fans. And it's just so much, it's hard to put the culture that he brought to Columbus.
Oh yeah, no, I would be surprised if you gave everybody who's MLS sicko a poll and said who is the best coach in MLS. I'd be surprised if Nancy doesn't walk away with it. Even before there, what he did in Montreal, like he, and that was the guy Mihailovic, like he basically kind of developed Mihailovic into what he was, and he went off. And like I see a lot of Mihailovic's development at Montreal, like part of what Nancy did.
Very good, Eric. Yeah.
So anyways, let's, I guess, getting into this, like we're gonna have kind of predictions and lineups. Jerald, what do you think for the lineup for tomorrow? What do you think the Columbus lineup has to keep an eye on for LAFC, and what do you think the score is going to be?
Well, the first side that Columbus looks at is always where's Denny at, right? And
yes,
we got the reigning defender of the year in Steven Moreira that usually has Denny in his back pocket, so. And I mean, you see the frustration, he was always on, was running on Moreira's side and, couldn't do anything, right? So then Toronto flipped him to the other side, and still Moreira somehow found his way to Denny.
Going over there with him.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just one of those.
Not going anywhere, buddy.
And they're good friends too, right? So, always a fun time seeing good friends, battle it out. Lineup wise, I still see Jason Russell Rowe being, the striker up there. Dylan Chambos and Rossi, they've started, clicking together there to finish out that front three. But I can't.
My golden
Diego. Yeah, we didn't ask you a Diego question. So we have Cameron Collins from. He's gonna talk Sounders with us. So we're gonna wrap it up a couple minutes here, Jerald, with you. But I want to hear your prediction, and talk to me about Diego Rossi, and he's gonna be in your lineup, and the relationship and what he means to you now in Columbus, because he meant a lot for us, and he's now your key player. But again, I don't want to interrupt you. What's your lineup, and focus on Diego for us a little bit, so we reminisce.
To finish up my lineup, it's hard not talking about Nagby.
Yes,
when they run through Nagby. And Nagby is that fulcrum, that center point that the team runs through him, right? Mm-hmm. And he's the MLS, Iron Man. 401 career MLS matches. So I mean, 4 cups. So I mean, he's done it all, except for winning the Champions Cup. But you got Sean Zawadski, that's proven to be, the Swiss Army knife for Columbus. He's played every single position on the field there, except for, head coach and water boy. He's played, keeper last year against against Seattle. Got thrown in there.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
But he's played every single position you could think out there. So I mean, he's proven himself there. And then our wing play, Max Arfston, who proved himself, who pretty much took the starting job from Yao Yaboa last year after the Real Salt Lake match, and never looked back. Man. And then Mo Farsi, he's an up and comer. Came in with Jason Russell Rowe, those two with Crew 2, and were a big part of their championship season in 22 for Next Pro. And
he's a futsal guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
And
find the gems.
He just, man. But as far as Diego goes, man, his English has gotten better. Like it's more like crisp now. You don't have too much of that the accent, but he's a character. And Cucho started that, he runs like a dinosaur. And now I can't see it, but now it's a celebration that he does. He does a little dinosaur run there after he scores. So, and it's funny, but I don't know what he did, or if he ate his Wheaties or not against Chicago, but I have never seen him jump as high as he did for the header against Chicago. And for him to have that precision timing, just for him to jump like that and head it down, it was a beautiful goal, right? And hold on, Nagby. Just because he put,
some of the sounders are starting to show up.
See what happened here?
The PNW rivalry.
You're going over their time here. No, we still got a couple minutes here. Yeah, no, I love Nagby. I knew a guy that played with him coming up in Indiana or somewhere in the Midwest, and they knew that this guy was real, and has been a part of American soccer for a long time, along with Ryan Hollinshead, probably the two most underappreciated players in our history as a U.S. soccer nation, because I love to see them have gotten some minutes with the U.S. men's national team. But we made some other calls and sent some other guys. Jerald, hey, man, we're out of time here, dude. Finish up your lineup. Give me your prediction and also where we can find you. I know that we just followed you on X here, but, let me know what you think this game is going to end up at tomorrow. And also, just tell me where we can find you here, and I really appreciate you coming by.
So score-wise, it's going to be a 3-1 Columbus win.
Woo! All right. Daddy's
Danny
home.
Daddy's
home.
Yeah, of course.
Your boy scores. The X.
No, I'm not going to say your boy. No.
Okay.
But I really think Belonga scores. It's hard to keep him off of the scoreboard. But it's going to be a 3-1 Crew win. Jason Russell Rowe, continues to score, and I think Diego and Jason each score one. Don't know who's going to score that third one because there's too many.
Camacho header.
Camacho's out right now.
Baby.
No,
okay.
Camacho's out right now. So
okay, good call. So Camacho doesn't play tomorrow. That's a big loss for Columbus. That's good to know.
Not really.
Not really. Oh wow. Look at you.
All right.
Now, when you got Amundsen and Yevon Shaburko there that have stepped up and showed that they, they're with them being young, that they're still able to.
Man, yeah, the balls are swinging tonight. They're just laying on the table for us.
So we brought Cameron in here from the Sounders. You might have saw we like to do a little crosstalk. Yeah. Jerald, appreciate you so much being here with us, talking Columbus.
Wait, before Jerald goes, Cameron, what's your score prediction? LAFC and Columbus.
I mean, they're both good teams. I think I got to go 3-1 LAFC.
All right. We got someone to talk to. I know, and he's a rival. Hey, man, Jerald, again, thank you so much, buddy. You do have a podcast, right? That you do. Eric was sending me the name of it. Talk to us about your project, Wise Men Pod. Is that right?
So the show is called the Wiseman Say Podcast.
Okay.
If anybody has ever seen, what the crew does, before and after the game, they sing "Can't Help But Falling in Love" the first two lines, and it starts off with Wiseman Say.
Oh yeah,
so that's that's where the name comes from. So we talk everything, all Columbus soccer, UPSL. Now it's USL League 2, which used to be Inter Columbus FC, is now Kings Hammer FC. Ohio Dominican University, Crew 2, Columbus Eagles, the women's soccer team there. So, I mean, it's pretty much, we talk about everything Columbus soccer related.
That's amazing, man.
All right.
Yep.
That's
you can
cool,
catch us on the X at Wiseman Pod, and catch us live every Wednesday.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks
Thank you,
again,
Jerald.
Jim. It's been a pleasure, and good luck to you. And we'll definitely follow along. And good luck to the crew tomorrow. But I don't like your score prediction, and we'll do that one last, Eric. But I appreciate you being here and giving it to us. All right, buddy. You can hang in the back there if you want. But yeah, thanks for joining us, Cameron. We have a kind of a similar situation, right, coming up this weekend where both of our teams are going to be busy with a 180-minute game, and the first leg will be played. And then we're going to meet each other in the weekend. We're going to travel to Seattle for that. I also think is a traditionally early game against LAFC because it's always very sunny in a non-sunny Seattle. But first of all, how you doing, friend? Thanks for joining us here on Section 128. Maybe you can talk a bit about what you do. Yeah,
happy to be here. I big Sounders fan, been season ticket holder since the beginning. I am president of Gorilla FC, which is one of the 2 or 3 supporter groups for the Sounders. We focus on community and charity and using soccer to build community. And then I just stepped down as president of the Alliance Council, which is the fan government. I'm now the secretary. And of course, I have my own podcast, Sounders Scuttlebutt, which is available wherever you find your podcasts. Very cool, Eric. I'll shoot at you for the first question. Shout out to the Brazilian community there in Seattle. We have the guys from Sounders Cast. Paulo Jr., one of the contributors for Pitchside US, is now in Orlando. He used to cover the Sounders, a team that had a ton of Brazilians, and now it's relegated to only a very old João Paulo Meyer. But talk to me, Eric. What do you got for Cameron here for this game this weekend against the Sounders, which I believe is going to be a very rotated couple of squads?
Yeah. I mean, I guess just to start with, generally, luckily the Sounders, unlike our NYCFC last week, is a team that we are fairly familiar with because we've had quite a few battles. And funny with the early match, I think we had a couple seasons where we played like back-to-back weekends, right at the beginning of the season, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, anyways, starting on with the Seattle Sounders this year, what's really changed for them? I know you had some injury problems last year, guys coming back this year. Talk to us a little bit about what the roster looks like compared to last year. And then also with Schmetzer and his role there, because I know there's some kind of talk. It was some fans might be thinking it's time for him to go, but he's been there forever. So yeah, just tell us about your Sounders in 2025. Yeah, I mean, this year I think they built on the way they finished last year, which of course we did beat LAFC and then lost to LA Galaxy in the Western Conference Final. Schmetzer was on the hot seat for a lot of last year. I think a lot of people use it, but I'm pretty sure we coined the Ziggy line, which was the line at which Ziggy Schmid got fired in 2016, after which Schmetzer took over and took the Sounders all the way on to win the MLS Cup. And so I think we finished 3 points above the Ziggy line at the point Ziggy was fired, and then everything turned around. And the Sounders went on a tear, not scoring necessarily a lot of goals, but really strong defense. And they sought to build upon that coming into this season and brought in a bunch of offensive firepower, plus almost like having a new player come in, Pedro de la Vega being healthy and being able to play and truly has been
an upgrade over himself from last year. Could easily be one of the more improved players in the MLS. So it's exciting in a lot of ways that the Sounders were able to take what was already a strong defense and then add some offensive pieces, namely both DPs from, or two of the three DPs from Dallas came over as TAM players and are now playing in Paul Arriola and Jesus Ferreira. And so you bring in some more firepower there. And interestingly, though, this year started off, although much improved roster, with defensive miscues and allowing a bunch of goals. And I think they've given up as many goals as they've scored. So, and they may have scored as many. Well, in league play, we've scored as many own goals as we've scored as well, at least not counting Champions League.
So how much of that do you account for being fatigue and being an early season form, right? And it seems to me that the Sounders, based on past experience or past history, have not been really good when they have to play multiple tournaments, especially early on. You had the year that they had the run that ended up with the CCC win, and regular season wise, I think you guys end up missing the playoffs. So Is that a little bit of? Do you think this a little bit of that? A little bit of over focus on the CCL runs and kind of continuing on that kind of path of mediocrity on the weekends and keeping winning on the weekdays?
I mean, that's definitely a concern because, when Garth Lagerwey was here before he moved on to Atlanta, where he's the CEO now, his thing was we're focusing on CCL. Mm-hmm. And so now I have trouble saying CCC. It just doesn't sound right. But
no, it's Concacaf Champion, whatever you want to call it, buddy.
But
we're all there.
The C cubed, it definitely is the focus. I mean, that's where you're going to see most of our starters. But interestingly, we have players that are playing in those other games in the league matches who were starters last year. And so the bench is super deep. I mean, I think the broadcast in the loss 2-0 to RSL this past weekend said the Sounders have one of the deepest benches in the league. I think the problem is we're switching lineups every other game because it's been CCL League Cup, league match, CCL League match, back and forth, and it continues. And so I think there's no rhythm happening for some of those players. The only player that seems to be consistent, some of the defense, but Jordan Morris on the offense has been the only consistent player. He's played in every match for at least a half.
Yeah, and Morris, they seem to have stuck more up front centrally now this time as well, as opposed to on the wing. And I guess, is that just more natural for him, or is that more just Rothrock? I mean, man, his second half of his season last year, he was a pretty exciting guy to watch.
But I think it was 11 or 12 matches into the season last year, they moved Morris to the 9, and he was there for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. Of all his goals, he had a big stretch when he first moved there, and then he ended up scoring more from the wing last year. But he is the solid number 9 for the team moving forward. I mean, I think Rothrock's part of that equation, but Rothrock is now the second or third person on the left off the bench. It could just because you've brought in Jesus Ferreira, you've brought in Arriola, you have so many players that can play, whether it's Rusnak or De La Vega or even Jordan Morris can play on the left too. But they have the front 5 or so, or 4, I should say. They can switch around a lot on who plays what. So Rothrock has been starting every other game, but he was such a huge revelation last year, and this year he's not getting the same number of minutes because of the players the Sounders have brought in. Yeah,
the other thing, the Sounders, I mean, Schmetzer pretty much, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much always plays like a 4-2-3-1. And has that really changed, or is it going to change?
We've seen 3 at the back, and so we end up, or 5 at the back, depending on how you want to put it. I mean, we've seen those wing backs where they end up playing 5 at the back with the 2 wing backs that push forward a lot more. I think that's a huge benefit of having Paul Arriola, who that's his natural position. But yeah, I mean, maybe the year before we missed the playoffs, that's the only time we have missed the playoffs. We were playing that and I think finished second in the league, or third in the West. So there was one season where we did that, but yeah, it's always 2 center defensive mids at the very least. So you see that, and then they'll push up. Obed Vargas, who is getting older, but still a very young man. He's not 16 anymore, but I think he's probably about 19. Is fantastic, and he pushes up a lot. And then no matter who you pair him with, I think you have a pair of really excellent center defensive mids there for the Sounders.
Yeah, Obed Vargas. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, no, go ahead with Obed. I'm kind of shifting.
Oh, I was just going to say, Obed is one of my favorite players from the Sounders. Not, again, you have different players on the league that you've been following. And, I think he's a typical guy that has grown a lot under Schmetzer. Schmetzer, for everything that he's done, and I could see the criticism from supporters kind of wanting some new blood there. Where is the supporter groups, like the really core? It seems like you're pretty involved with the Sounders there, but like where's the feeling today, right? You weather the storm, you get a playoff win, you get bounced out by the Galaxy, but you almost get to an MLS Cup. But is the sentiment completely gone to make a move on him, or is everything sort of riding on this season, right? When you have the FIFA World Cup and so much on the line here for 2025 on the Sounders.
Yeah, I think for most fans, he's coach for life. It's as long as he wants to be there. My guess is it's through the actual World Cup in 2026, which will be in Seattle, of course, as well. He can be there as long as he wants. He says he'll step away when he believes it's time. And, for those of us that were doubters last year, he proved us wrong. He turned that team around. And there's times where I'm curious about what goes on in the locker rooms, but I've had conversations with him about how he views every player as unique. And you can't just, Ziggy Schmid loved to yell at the players. And that's just not something that doesn't work with people that are, I would say, under 45, 50 anymore. You can't just scream at players and make them do what you want. You got to talk to them. So he's very much, some players, you just show them their stats and they're good. That's how he said he worked with Ozzie Alonso. Other players, maybe you have to give them some constructive criticism. It just depends who it is. I think we're lucky to have him. And as critical as even I myself have been, if he were to leave, it would be hard to imagine someone that could be equally successful as him coming in, if you think about the success he's had since 2016.
I would go get your guy Gonzalo Pineda, man, or one of the many assistants you let go over the years, or even that you have one of our assistants was a Seattle assistant, right?
Anton Razov?
It was Razov. Yeah, Razov was an assistant. So, you could go to the assistant pool. But again, we don't want to have this conversation. I got one more for you. Eric has another one too. Before we let you go, we're kind of brushing against the hour. Of course, we're going to be over again, which is about Pedro de la Vega. We just had a piece today on Beachside US. I will send it to you, Karen. Spread it to your Seattle friends because it's a good piece, kind of talking about, number one, the struggles with Pedro. Like the first game of his career in MLS was against LAFC. He scores on a penalty kick. I was at that game, and then goes into a series of injuries and does not play very well. And he seems to be, starting the season with a bang. What are the expectations for him from, now, like since they've been curbed again? And do you really think he's going to be the player that everyone thought he was going to be when he was first signed?
Yeah, I mean, he came in last year and there was a lot of expectation of him and he didn't meet it. That wasn't necessarily his fault. He was injured. He got back. Yeah. He probably brought back too early from that injury and re-aggravated it. And then he had a completely different injury. Luckily, none of those injuries were related to the knee he blew out that pretty much made him available to the Sounders in the first place, because he was on a path to be on, a big European team if he hadn't blown out his knee when he was a few years younger. He was getting looks at with the Argentinian national team. So, that's his goal still. And I think he can still get there. He came in this camp with the expectation that he would be 6 to 7 pounds lighter. And apparently that's what he did. And I got to see him, on stream when they were in Spain playing in all his preseason matches. I think he had a goal or assist in every one of them. And then I got to be in person for the one preseason match against Louisville City here in Seattle that was at the training center. And he again looked good. It looked like he's taken the pressure as a chance to step up rather than viewing it as heavy. And Schmetzer has said after the Antigua match, where he had 2 goals, we have to temper our expectations. But my expectations are sky high. I think he's becoming the player that we expected last year, and that extra year of maturity really helped him. And it's going to be, I think the sky's the limit for him. I expect him to be Sounders Player of the Year by the end of the year.
Ooh, I love it. You know what? And we're working hard to maybe get him on my Brazilian publication here. Like I speak some Spanish, and
Cool.
I think it'd be a good story to have him talk. I know that English is not his forte. But yeah, we are working with the Sounders. We're excited to cover the Sounders this year on the side project that I do because of their participation in the World Championship. So we have a team of journalists that are giving our rival, LAFC's rival, some attention. And I got to learn a little bit about your history. Eric, I know you have a question here.
Yeah, I would like to point out the Sounders are the one MLS team that actually earned a spot in this tournament.
Oh yeah,
but, so respects for that, and I'll definitely be rooting for you guys, even though lots of Sounders fans weren't rooting for us in CCL, but that's a whole different matter. One of my questions I had, to me, when I see Seattle, your academy seems like one of the most successful academies, at least in the Western Conference. And what do you think that attributes to, that you're producing so many players that are able to get good, solid first team minutes in the league?
I think it's twofold. I think one, it's just the soccer has been a top sport locally in Seattle from the time I was a little kid. I'm 45 now. Like I didn't grow up in the city playing American football. Like I played soccer, baseball, and basketball. We all played soccer. And so if you grew up in the city, that's what you were playing. So it's been a central part of being a kid in Seattle for a long, long time. And so you had young people playing it. I think the other thing is you had Garth Lagerwey come over from RSL, where he had already built a successful youth system. And you saw the benefits they had when they made it to the Concacaf Champions League final that one year and ended up losing. And he took that whole system and put it in place in Seattle and really invested in the academy system. And the nice thing was that, sure, our Sounders 2 or / Tacoma Defiance, however you want to call them, that's what they are now. This US MLS Next Pro team, they're good, but the younger you get, those players always have a higher ceiling. And and now we're seeing some of those players start to play on the Sounders. We're seeing homegrown players come along and get minutes. They did just let several homegrown players go who didn't pan out. But I think it's sometimes a numbers game, especially in the United States, where it's 4 times more expensive to develop a player than it is in, say, Mexico, where they get so many superstars that come out of the league. So, I think it's been a central idea. I think also it's the team saying this isn't a money-making venture. The minor league team is not there to make money. It's there to develop the players. It's there to get them their 10,000 minutes so they can make all the mistakes that they need to make so that when they come to the MLS level and they say head the ball directly into their own goal like Nuhu did this last game, it doesn't shake you. You can keep playing and move on because you have to as a defender.
Was that a Malcolm Gladwell reference? The 10,000 minutes.
I caught that too.
Holy shit, man, that was cool. I mean
a little bit.
We learned everything in this podcast. That was awesome.
Yeah,
just slip that in there. I love it.
Right.
Cool, Eric. Eric, lead him through the end of our interviews, which usually means we talk formations and predictions. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. Since we probably know it's going to be a 4-2-3-1, why don't you go through the lineup? Factor in any rotation if you think it's applicable, and then end it with your score prediction.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have, I don't know who's going to start in the back, actually. It'll either be Stephen Fry or Andy Thomas. Andrew Thomas is the heir apparent to Fry. This could be Fry's last year. It's contract-wise his last year, but he may have another year. But Andy Thomas is pretty good regardless. So I'm not sure who will start. My guess is it will be Andy Thomas. But he also started that Antigua match. Cruz Azul is a different equation going into the beast. So I expect Fry back there. In the back, you will likely see Alex Roldan on the right. He missed the last Sounders match, RSL, because his wife was giving birth. And so he was probably a little fresher. So we'll see. But what minutes he gets at Cruz Azul or at home versus Cruz Azul on Wednesday. But I expect him with, I would say, probably Reagan and Yamar, the center backs that we usually start back there. You could also see Kim Keehee, an old classic Sounders player that just got brought back, get some minutes there, I suppose. And then on the left, likely Nuhu. We did start a young player on the right last match, and it didn't go so well. So I think they probably will go with the solid left backs and right backs that they usually have. I think in the center defensive mids, you're going to see João Paulo start that match because he's been starting the league matches so far. And then you'll likely see Danny Leyva or probably Danny Leyva coming in because he'll be in there on the rotation from the previous match. And then on the wings, I think you could see Rothrock and Georgie Manugu. They've been playing every other match, and they've been playing well until the RSL match, where they struggled a little bit and got taken out at halftime. Center attacking mid, probably Rusnak. And then up top, that's a good question. Jordan Morris has been playing those minutes. He has not sat out a full game, but I could see Danny Mazovsky, who didn't he used to play for LAFC? Yeah.
What? The Moose starting against us?
Moose
I can see him
love Moose.
Getting the start.
FYI.
Yeah. Oh, I got to have dinner with him and a few other players last year. They sat at a table at a gala I was at, and he is one of the nicest people I have ever met. So
he came on our show before a couple of years, right before he left LAFC, and that guy, man. I mean, I grew up playing hockey, and he's just like I love physical players, and that guy, like, when he would get subbed in, if he's getting subbed in for 7 minutes, the guy makes sure to get a yellow card. Like,
go through some walls and stuff.
And this is after my heart right there.
I take some photos, and I have photos of him. He's always like grimacing or holding a body part. It's just like he always would really play really hard. Hey, Cameron, like tell us what you think the game score is going to be.
Yeah, real quick, just on Moose. He struggled since he's come to Seattle, but last match he came in and had a few signs of success, and he's really pushing. So I think he could score a goal if he's up there the full almost full 90. But yeah, I would say so. This is going to be an interesting one. I think the Sounders may struggle to hang with LAFC unless LAFC is also equally taking that roster and changing it a little bit. I think the Sounders with their deep bench can hang with LAFC's bench pretty well. And the big issue will be if the Sounders are up by one or less past the 80th minute. We'll say if they're up by one past the 80th minute, they've had that happen 5 times since the beginning of the 24 season last year, and they've given up a goal in 4 of them.
Late.
So I would expect if they're not up by 2, which seems near impossible to me against LAFC, I would expect a late goal and maybe a 2-2 game.
Oh, okay. That's a good prediction. Eric, you wanna take a stab at this one at our starting lineup away with the Columbus game looking at us and all that travel. What do you think is going to happen?
I'm going to skip the lineup just because I think it's going to be similar to last league one because so much depends on tomorrow because we're going to have a Tuesday game in Columbus after this game. So if we don't have a good result tomorrow or a really strong result, I think it's going to be a heavily rotated squad. But sure enough, the way Cherundolo drills, I mean, he is a defensive coach and he drills a strong defense, grinded out game. Total opposite of Bob Bradley when he was here. But my prediction for this game is going to be a 0-0.
All right.
I can see that.
Cameron, I actually have a worse prediction. I think the Sounders will get their first win of the regular season against LAFC. Why? Because LAFC will have their hands full with Columbus. I think everything is going to go well with Columbus, but it will take LAFC's mindset a little bit off. And I probably will expect the most heaviest rotation of the season for us, regardless of score, unless LAFC gets blowing off the doors like we were told it's gonna happen. But I don't see Lloris playing. I don't see Giroud playing any minutes at all. Or getting on.
But if Abobacy's starting, then he's better anyways.
And Jeremy, and I know, it's going to be guys like that, which we still need. Believe it or not, for I believe the 180 minutes against the Crew, we need Abobacy for 30. So I expect us to have a heavily rotated squad
and a 3-4-3
guys. Hassau starting, on goal, and again, Smoliakov getting his first 90. For us and such. And again, the score 2-1 Seattle, the most classic scores of them all. Seattle takes a 2-1 grind, but a win here to to in a meaningless game, right? Because the games that we care about are the ones that are playing in October and November, like we saw right at BMO, right? And these are just like tiny appetizers of what's to come.
It's funny because these games are only meaningless because the road to October is so far away. But we all know, and Seattle always historically has been like they always get hot down the stretch, as we get into August, September, and we're only looking at 15, 18 points left in the schedule. Like that's when these early season results always the little points here and point there. That's where they always can add up. So.
When you miss the playoffs by 2 points, that was that one win you dropped to make the difference.
Yeah. I doubted that neither of our teams are going to be here. I did a preview again with the Brazilian guys. I have Seattle finishing up top. I really like the pickups. I think you guys really have a much more rounded team this year. Injuries barring, De La Vega being one of them. I can predict the top 4 in the Western Conference involving the 2 LA teams, Seattle and another one. So that's who I have coming on.
I don't have Carson top 4.
Well, okay. We can have that discussion when it's their turn. But, they're still a pretty good team, though they don't look like that. But, hey, I want to thank you, Cameron, for being here really, really very much. It's been a pleasure talking Sounders with you. We'll see you this weekend. And if you ever come to LA, please look us up. Let's go to a game together. We'll take you to the 3252 as long as you're not wearing your green gear.
Oh, yeah.
You can get in there. But, I love
your Seattle supporters in the corner. Guaranteed.
Or you can be all up there with your Seattle supporters.
I often don't sit with the Seattle supporters. I go off on my own. So
I know. I'm smart.
Right.
You do your thing, buddy. I love it.
Yeah.
And with that, we're gonna go ahead, Cameron. We're gonna let you end this here before we
just remember West Coast, best coast. I think Columbus forgot that.
Yes, they did. And they don't even know where they are. They call themselves the Midwest, and it's a mess, ever since I've lived here. I never understood that whole thing. But thanks again, everybody, for watching. It's been a pleasure talking LAFC for an hour. Eric's got something to say before we close out. Go ahead.
Yeah, anything to plug for you, Cameron?
I thought we did that before. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, check out Sounder Scuttlebutts, the podcast that I do with Nicholas Biella and Aaron Lingley. It's at least weekly, sometimes more often. It is audio only at this point, but we're looking into video. And if you're into it, I see some of our listeners there in the audience there. Join our Patreon.
Oh, very cool. I appreciate everyone that you guys brought over. That's always really nice to us, new audience. And again, a lot of what we try to do here is bring people from the other tribes, other teams, to build like an MLS community from within. The traveling of I will close with this, the traveling of Sounders fans. And I don't know if they're traveling from the east side of town or as transplants, or if they're traveling on a plane to come here, but it's really cool. It's really good to see away fans in MLS stadiums. I think we need a lot more of that. That adds so much legitimacy to this league. So I appreciate you guys coming, wherever you're coming from. It's always really appreciated, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope to come down and see y'all soon.
All right. Well, thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you at the end of the next season. Next week we'll have another episode. Probably another two people here to talk 2 more games. It's been fun, man. I love this two games a week thing. Oliveira was right. I think we need two games a week all the time. See you.